Good evening, Charlie. If you could raise your hand if you could see my screen. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to give everyone a couple minutes to get here. Charlie, are you caught up to this point in the game? You can either type it in response or raise your hand. This point where you can collect these game objects. Oh, great. Wonderful. That means that you're either at the webinar last Wednesday or you watched the recording. Okay. Great. Well, you can go ahead and get your Unity game out, open. And we'll give classmates a couple minutes to get here. We hopefully by the end of today's lesson should have all of this. Your walls should have color. You should have a power up, and then you'll have a game over and a you win screen. Hello, Nicholas. Nicholas, can you raise your hand if you are caught up? You can count, you have these objects that you can pick up. Okay, great, wonderful. Get started in just a minute here. And by the end of today, you guys should really be at a point where you're not only comfortable enough to really start making your own mods, but you have lots of options for mods you can make. You can really see the different game elements. Right now, all we do whenever we pick up, or whenever our sphere collides with a trigger, that the object with the trigger disappears. But there's actually a lot more you can do with that, and we'll see that with the power up option. So make sure you do open Unity. We'll get started here. Hey, Riley. Go ahead, open up Unity. Start here in just a moment. All right, let's go ahead and get started. If someone gets here a little late, they can join in and watch the beginning at another point. Okay, so where we just stopped off, we added that you win option, and the you win is just text that's at the center of your screen, and we checked to see how big your count is. If your count is the same as the number of pickup objects that you have, so greater than one less, I have 6, so I'm seeing if count is greater than 5, then you run the function win, which you defined down here. When text starts as just empty text, and you add U1 to that text. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this is actually the game, the tutorial that they give. This is the end of that. So now we're going to add some things to mod that. We're going to start, I think that having the white walls makes it difficult to read the text sometimes. So what I want to do is, go to my project here, create, it's a weird prize color. I want to create a new material called wall color. So under my materials folder, right click, create material, and give it that albedo. I chose a dark color because I think the score and time remaining, sometimes since my camera moves with the ball, with the white walls, it was just hard to see sometimes. So I made my wall color dark, and then I just dragged it on the walls. So go ahead, make sure you can do that. Raise your hand when you're ready to move on. And again, I just went to my materials, I right-clicked, created a new material, I added an albedo to that, and I dragged that onto my walls. Oh, yeah, I see that. Like so. And raise your hand when you're ready to continue. Again, I'm just waiting to see everyone's hands when you're ready to move on. Great. And we're not in a rush. I just wanted to make sure you understood what we were doing. Okay. And so you do drag them on one at a time. That was a really small thing, but I think it makes it easier to see the score. And now we're going to add a timer, and it's actually our losing element. We're going to give the user a certain amount of time to collect all the objects, and if they don't do it in that amount of time, then we're going to fill the screen with a game over image that essentially makes it impossible for them to continue on. Hey, Garen. All we've done so far is added color to the walls. You can do that at another point, and you can just jump right in as we get the timer going. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a UI text object to let the player know how much time is left. So we're going to be adding that to our canvas. In Scene, I'm going to double-click Canvas to get a better look at that, and then hold Alt down on my keyboard and zoom in, just so I get a better view here of my canvas. Again, I double-clicked, and I used my Alt key on my keyboard while using the mouse to orbit around, get a better view of that. Okay. And you guys will be adding this time remaining here. I already have mine, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add it again. Game object, UI, and you want to add text. Okay. You can, once you've added that text, you can use the move arrows and move it. This is why having that good view is so important, because now it's easy for me to kind of line it up. And one thing that's interesting here, if you guys see this outline, in order for it to contain all of time remaining, including the seconds that are going to be shown, we have to make this outline larger. That's the amount Let me show you an example. If I try to put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. It stops showing my text because I ran out of room essentially. So make this bold, white, size 20. You need to make the actual rectangle itself larger, and that's up here, this width and height. So you can make it like 280. 30 should be fine. I'll go ahead and make it 50 just to be safe. That actually seems pretty big, 40. Okay, so once you change the size, you're gonna have to actually go through and realign it. But I'm gonna delete mine since I already have one there. Just to make sure that you keep everything set to go, call this text here time remaining. It should show up as text. Select the object called text and hit enter on your keyboard, and you can call it time remaining. This is just going to keep it straight in your mind. So here are the properties that time remaining should have. Go ahead and raise your hand when you're ready to move forward. Just as we're waiting, as a reminder, this canvas looks a little strange since your world is down there. It's just a view of the rectangle that your player sees and how the text is going to be aligned in there. If I hit game, you'll see that it's in a similar area where I put it on the canvas. Initially, I had the game tab over here for the beginning lessons, but as the game starts to get kind of more complicated, and you have a better understanding of how the scene tab works, I went ahead and added it back as its full tab, because I personally think that's a little bit nicer to see what's going on. And once I get all hands, I will move on. Great. So we're going to add the timer code to our player move script, which is in our scripts folder. It's what everything is running off of. The first thing we need to do is create a way to refer to this UI text object. We have done this before. This is where we're adding a variable that's going to refer to a game object. I want you all to try on your own to add this line. And then in a minute, I'll show you how to do it. But go ahead and try to create a variable that's going to reference a UI text object. And you should already have a line in your code that does it, so see if you can create a similar one. This is my hint. This line is called a variable declaration. It's not necessarily a definition. We're not assigning a value to this variable. We're just giving a variable name and saying what kind of values it's going to hold. I'll go ahead and show you the line. You're going to add a variable timer that is UI text. Your variable name might not have been timer. If you feel really comfortable with programming, you can keep it whatever you called your variable. If you're less comfortable with the programming, I would change it to the same as mine, so that way you know in the code when I use the word timer, you'll be using the word timer, and it'll be a little bit simpler to keep track of. You're also creating a variable, and this is a definition because we're actually assigning it a value, called time limit. So in my game, the user only has 10 seconds to pick up all of the little cubes. The next thing you want to do is within the function update, you want to set timer text to be time remaining, the string time remaining with that space included, plus, and then we have some math here. We want it to be whatever you set the time limit to be minus time.time. Now we've talked about time.delta time before. Time.delta time is the amount of time that has elapsed since the last function update was run. It is normally a very, very, very small number, much less than a second. Time.time is the amount of time that has elapsed since the start of gameplay. So here, if my time limit that I set was 10 seconds, it's going to start at, the timer.text is going to start by saying time remaining 10, and as the gameplay continues, it's going to decrease in time. Raise your hand when you're ready to continue. Oh. Garen, time limit is defined up at the top of the code. You can see the number of the line as a reference there. It's up. You see where my private variable count is as well. It's right above that. Private var time limit equals 10. This is in the player move. Notice that we haven't yet coded anything. Nothing's going to happen when we get to 0. We haven't coded that yet. Right now, it's just going to show how much time has elapsed. So once you get past time limit, or how much time you have left, once you pass 10 seconds, the numbers are just going to start getting negative. So this line gets updated constantly as it is in the function update sequence, and it tracks time since gameplay. All right, make sure, put up your hand when you're ready to move on. Okay, great. So you can go ahead and try that out. Remember that you're going to have to attach this timer text that we called time remaining to the reference timer, and you do that in Unity itself. I'll show you where you're going to do that. This webinar is helping me edit my slides. That's good. Okay, so let's see here. Sphere. So if you click on your sphere, you'll see that under timer, you click the little circle and you select from the scene tab. Mine's not opening. I guess it's saying that mine's already set. Should be able to choose something else though. Anyway, when you click that circle, you're going to be able to choose time remaining. Okay, so now we're going to add the game over screen to pop up once the timer hits your time limit. So we're going to get that graphic before we code anything. So to do that, what I did is I just went to Google Images and searched game over. Now, if you were actually making a real game, you wouldn't be able to use someone else's Google Images, but I just searched game over screen. And there's lots of little ones. Oh, I kind of like this one. Insert coin. That's kind of cool. Oh, except it's too fancy for what we're going to be doing. I think this would work fine. So once I find the one that I like, I click on the little tab and I hit, ooh, I like that one. Kind of weird. View image. And then right click, save image as. I'm going to say game over screen. And make sure you know where you're saving it. I would recommend saving it to like your desktop because that's how we're going to drag it into our assets. So you can really choose any screen. And it could be really any image. I mean, you guys can kind of find what you'd like. And in order to add it, once you've found it, I'm using Finder, but you could also use your file manager if you're using Windows. Mac has Finder, it's the little face. And I find that image on my desktop, and I can just click and drag it into my assets folder. And it's as easy as that. Literally just clicking and dragging, and you'll see the little plus sign, and it becomes a file, part of your project. Because I'm a neat freak and I like to keep my assets folder nice and organized, I actually made an images folder by right-clicking, create folder, calling it images, and that's where I store all my images, including the first game over screen that I had. I think it just keeps your asset folder nice and organized. It's not letting me add this. Strange. Garen, what won't open? Your game over screen? Oh, you fixed it, okay. I was like, I would just find another one. Raise your hand when you're ready to go. Or send me a message if you need me to show you something again or you can't get it figured out. Okay. What you can do is, if you can't just drop it in, Garen, is you can right click, import new asset, and it'll allow you to actually select the image or whatever file that you want from, it opens the file manager that way. Haha. Oh, don't put it in the canvas yet. We're not putting it in the canvas yet. Okay, cool. Just waiting on one more hand. Let me know if you need any help. Oh, great. I'm never trying to rush you when I say one more hand. I'm just making sure you remember to raise your hand. Okay. So now we're going to add a UI object called raw image, not image, raw image. And we're going to call that game over screen. So game object UI raw image. And since I already have one called game over screen, I'm just going to call mine game over. And you'll see it looks like this little white square. And in the inspector window, you're going to assign it the texture of your game over image. So you'll see that that has this raw image, no texture right now. Click the little circle. I don't know why my little window is not working. This should pop right open. I feel like mine is, I just can't see it. There we go. And it's in my assets, and I should be able to find it by just scrolling down. And there's my game over. And then double click your canvas again to get a good view of the whole canvas. Okay. Oh, I'm in the game. Okay, there we go. So there's my whole canvas. And you want to use the scale tool. Wait. How are we doing here? Not for the canvas, for the game over screen. You can use the scale tool to make this image as kind of large, fill the whole screen. That's why it's good to use something like a computer background, because you know the file will be big enough. So since these are going to be bitmap, it won't get distorted. And then if you click over to your game screen, you'll notice that you have this beautiful game over just completely taking up your screen. Don't worry about that. We'll fix that in just a moment. But raise your hand once you've gotten to that part. Again, I double clicked the canvas so that I got a good view, and then I selected my game over image and used the scale. And it should take up all of your screen. That's very normal. So again, I just made a raw image. I gave it the texture of my image that I found in assets. And then I double-clicked canvas to get a good view. And I used the scale tools and the move tools to move my object in a good spot. And raise your hand when you're ready to move on. Shoot me a message if you're having trouble. While we're waiting, just waiting to move on. Again, no rush, but I do want to see. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Okay, I am going to launch a poll just to see what you guys think about Unity. Remember to raise your hand when you're ready to move forward. Okay, great. Got all hands. And you can select multiple things for that poll. Oh, cool. That was actually very helpful. Thanks, guys. I will save that for Mr. Dubik. I think it's very helpful. very good JavaScript tutorial. Okay. Next step here is actually coding. So now we have the raw image that we want shown when we reach that time limit. So we're going to make our reference to that UI, and instead of being a UI text, this is a UI raw image. So let's declare this variable here, game over screen : UI.raw image. That's at the top of your code, right under your timer declaration. Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. I paused the screen. I must have paused the screen for the poll. So it's this line here with the arrow. Okay. And I can come back to this if you need, but we are going to move forward. So how will we determine when the player has lost? Well, the player has lost once the time reaches the time limit, which means if the time is greater than the time limit, the game is over. So what are we going to add? An if statement. If time.time is greater than or equal to time limit, then we want to enable the game over screen. Now you'll notice here that we also have that this needs to be true, and we have this and, which means that it's checking for, this if statement is checking for two conditions, and in order for the sequence to be run in the code block, both of these conditions need to be true. So we haven't yet declared this variable when, and we'll talk about it in just a moment, but basically, we don't want the player to have successfully collected all of the pickup objects before the time has run out. And then, the you win message pops up, time continues to elapse, and it says that they lost. So we're going to add this variable when. We'll declare it up at the top in just a moment. And we're going to set it initially equal to false. And if the player wins, we'll set it equal to true, so that this will not be able to happen. So we're adding this here at the bottom of the function update. Raise your hand when you're ready to move forward. Show that there in case you missed it. And if you do finish early, go ahead and try to figure out where you're going to declare your variable when and set your variable when equal to false, when you're going to set it equal to true, and see if you can spot an extra step that we're going to need to add here, an initial condition. Oh, Garen, I thought you were with us last Wednesday. There's the recording that's posted. It originally, since I was the one posting it, I posted it to the wrong place. I posted it to Iowa, but it should be there now. The recording should be posted. Oh, gotcha. Well, the recording's up. Okay, make sure you raise your hand when you're ready to continue. Okay. If there's time at the end, Garen, I'll just throw up the whole code and you can maybe take a screenshot of it. So that way it's going to be a little bit easier for you to copy, but I would recommend taking a look at the webinar as you do it. Okay. So, let's see here. Okay. One. Okay, ignore this for right now. The first thing that we're going to have to do is in function start, we're going to need to set game over screen enabled to false. So this will mean that that screen that says game over, that image, will not pop up. Ignore this for right now. Just focus on adding this to your function start. Second, also at the start of the code, you want to set win to false. Third, in that win function that you created, you want to set win to true. That way, your game over screen won't pop up if the player wins. So you add 2 lines to your start function, 1 line to your win function. And lastly, you declare your win variable at the top of your code. You can just say var win, and that just, hey, you're gonna have a variable called win in this code. And I didn't make it private because maybe when I expand the game, I might want other objects to know when I've won as well. All right, once you have done that, attach the game over screen on your player move script. And on your game over, you want to start it as not enabled by unchecking it. Garen, Did you add the win variable at the top of your code? Oh, Garen, you need to add the game over as a. Oh, you know what? You should not do that. You should not uncheck this box. I am deleting that. You uncheck this box. There we go. You uncheck this box. Here. Garen, go to your sphere and set up this game over screen. Charlie, I'm going to put your hand down. Will you raise it again if you have a question? Okay. Well, then now, raise your hand when you're ready to move on. And you can try out your game. You'll notice mine's counting down. And I can start collecting some of them. If I run out of time, game over. Okay, if you don't have the option for your game over screen here, Garen, then go on your script. That means you didn't do something right here. It might be the capitalization. And again, raise your hand when you're ready to move on, but play around with it. Let me know if you have an error. Oh, okay, Garen, easy fix. Again, you don't want to uncheck this box. That means that you're not going to be able to use this at all. You uncheck the raw image box so that the texture is not enabled, but the game object is still accessible. And raise your hand when you're ready to move on. Okay, Garen, did you hook it up? All of these should be hooked up. Score, you win, time remaining, and game over screen. Hey, Charlie, let me know if you gotta, you can raise your hand if you're ready to move. I know I put your hand down, but okay. And then Garen, can you just raise your hand if you don't mind me unmuting you? Okay. Well, I will not unmute you, but I want to be able to help you with your script. How do I hook it up to the sphere? You click the sphere up here. You go to your code and you should see them. This script should be attached to the sphere. So it's already hooked up to the sphere. And then if you see like game over screen, you click the little circle. And then under scene, it shows you the different UI images that you have, raw images that you have, and you select yours. All right, Garen. Then something is wrong with this declaration. So go ahead, look at this declaration again. Make sure capitalization is correct. There are two of the windows. I don't know what that means. Yeah, the little window. You can exit out of the window if there are two of them, but there should be two tabs, but if you have multiple open, just exit out. Anyway, this needs to be the same as what you see here. And then you need to save. Oh, you had two copies of the script in the sphere. Delete one. You can delete both and then just go over to your scripts and re-add it to the sphere. Like here, you still have player move, so you can delete both of the components of the sphere that you have, just because you don't know which one is the right one, and then click and drag the code onto the add component button. So again, how you would do that. And this is just a good tip for anyone. You can right-click, remove a component, and then just add the script on there. Now I'm going to have to go back through and redefine these. So my count text, so always a good reason to name them. The count text should be my score. My win text should be you win. timer should be time remaining. Game over screen, and there we go. Can you show the function on trigger enter part of the code? Yes. I restarted Unity and I can't read the script until all the errors are fixed. Garen, you can. You just got to double click. And open it in this screen. Riley, yes, 1 moment. But Riley, mine is different than yours. On trigger enter, mine is this one here. Because yours should just have this if pickup. Set that thing to not active and run something called set count text. But we were going to get to power ups today. Garen, if I can't speak with you or look at your screen, it's going to be really hard for me to solve this error. I think one of your issues was the declaration, so make sure your declarations are right. It could be something as simple as a capitalization error. All right, guys, I think that's going to be the end of my time. Riley, sorry that was not more helpful for you, but you should be able to see it when you watch the recording. The recordings are up under high school. Garen, I'm going to help you with this code right now, but for everybody else, we'll get to power-ups next time. Let me look at this. Function when. You had a space there. It shouldn't matter, but oh, there's a space in all of these. Interesting. When equals true, that's good. You have when there. Okay. Garen, you may be missing a second curly brace at the bottom of your code, or you may just not have copied it. I'm going to try your code right now on mine. All right, it's working on mine. It really could have just been that last curly brace. Yep, worked on mine. That was your code example. So go ahead, how I did that. The game over screen is always visible. What you do, Garen, is you go to this inspector window from your game over screen and you unclick this checkbox. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening. I need to head off so I can make it in time for my next webinar. Hope you guys are enjoying Unity, and we will continue on Wednesday with some power-ups. And oh, very cool, adding a like a kind of like a land or terrain. There we go, adding terrain and trees and all that. So that's a neat addition. And then next Monday we'll be doing character controllers, where you'll be able to use your mouse to turn your head. So lots of good stuff to look forward to. It's been a pleasure working with you, and have a wonderful evening.